Now, when we talk about that you're an ADHD coach for creatives, what kinds of patterns or things have you noticed that here's a challenge and let's try and help some people today?
First thing is focusing on tasks when the initial joy kind of dopamine has worn off. Once that initial party bit of the project is done, it is very difficult to finish things. And I think the finishing thing and then to hit the deadlines, because you're just in that like the last bit, even though you've got a tiny task to do, might take you as long as the whole rest of the project. Is a real challenge for people. And that's one of the reasons why ADHD is they might not be performing as good as they should be, is because they're seen as being like, we've done all this great work, but you just haven't emailed back that client or you haven't finished the project. So that's a real kind of challenge. There's always going to be a bit of this procrastination on this last bit, and that we're, as ADHDers, we're kind of programmed to seek out the dopamine inducing part of what we're doing. Getting some accountability is absolutely key. So if your employer or you have like somebody you're working with can offer you some accountability to just give you a little nudge on those tasks. There's a concept called body doubling, which is basically where we're both going to jump on Zoom at 3 p.m. and you're going to do the thing that you said you were going to do, and I'm going to do something I need to do, and then the task will get done. That concept of having that body doubling someone in the room even if it's a virtual room, can really help those final non-dopamine related tasks get done. And that applies to life stuff as well. Folding up your washing, tidying a kitchen, doing the washing up. Those are all really low dopamine tasks that as ADHDers will struggle with. So
let me ask you this question. So people have sometimes a challenge finishing tasks. And then if somebody can give them a gentle reminder, it's like, oh yeah, right, I need to finish that. Could you not just self-regulate? Could you not just set up alarms, goals that are put on Post-it notes or digitally so that you don't need someone else to do that for you?
Of course you could do that. Of course. But an ADHD is determined as an executive function disorder, or executive dysfunction. Executive function is goal-orientated action. So that is basically how you self-regulate, your self-awareness, your time management, all of those things to help you achieve some kind of goal. Because our executive function can be quite heavily interesting or dysregulated or just kind of not quite as goal orientated as other people's, yes, we can certainly do all of those things, but probably chances are we'll think about doing it, we won't do it, and then we'll beat ourselves up because we didn't remember to write the thing on the Post-it note, or we saw the alarm go off and we didn't do the thing. When you've got somebody, a real human there to kind of, whether that's virtually or in person or whatever, to give you that accountability, it helps to push your trust in yourself a little bit further as well, so that some of the self-regulating activities might be feasible in the future. But yeah, the executive functioning side is a real killer when it comes to things like being on time, remembering to do the things that you have a Post-it note in front of you right there, which I have some, to actually remember to do that. It's that executive function thing.
Hearing this information and trying to map it to things in my life and my timeline, I tend to somehow attract certain ADHD people into my life, and they drive me crazy. But for whatever reason, we're like Abbott and Costello, Bonnie and Clyde or whatever. We just belong together. It's kind of wild. And I was like, oh, can't you guys just get yourself done? Why are you working on this other stupid, crazy idea? And this, oh, you have a new idea today? Like every single day? Come on, right? And like, can you not just finish? So let me take you back in time. This is now 2014. Jose and I are working together, and he's teaching me things about core and the framework about brand strategy. And we decide to start a company together, and he's the CEO and I'm just, I don't know what I am. And so he likes to do things together. And it would just annoy me. He's like, we're going to do a stand-up meeting. I'm like, what? Stand-up meeting? Why are we having more meetings? And so he just liked to do things together. And we got into an argument. And I said, look, let's just try a test. Because he believed in all these like Silicon Valley things like Agile, Scrum, all these tools to help move software. And we weren't developing software, so it just really confused me. So here's the challenge I gave to him. He said, why don't we try your way and see what happens? Let's do it for a week and see how much we accomplish. And then we'll measure against the baseline of how much I can get done. So she's like, sure, let's do it. So he gathered a team. He was like, what's our global business objective? What are you going to do? So he's like assigning tasks. We're all doing it together. All my tasks I did in one day, actually in hours.
Yep.
So I've done everything I need to do for the entire week, and I just waited. And then at the end of the week, with all the meetings, no one finished anything. I know you're feeling this, right? And I was like, okay, we have a problem, Jose. We cannot run projects like this because nothing is done. He's like, well, this was just a bad week. I'm like, no, I believe you know how to run these things, but this is how nothing gets done. But having heard you say this about body doubling and having other people keep us accountable, because the executive function of prioritizing goals is in dysfunction. And so everything looks important and everyone's easily distracted. And if they're following the lead of someone who's ADHD, who's not yet figured this part out, it's a cluster F.
There's a lake there. I think it knows where it is going. The machine knows. Stop yelling at me. No, it's stop yelling. There's no road here.
Quite literally said, I could have done everybody's work in one day and then you all could just go home. Like, what's the point? Okay, please respond.
Yes.
I want your insight, any kind of jokes you want to throw at both of us. It's all good.
What you've just described there is absolutely typical on Jose's part, typical ADHD behavior. Getting everything together, planning it all out, scheduling it in, listing the task, but not actually doing any of it. Exactly that.
I wish I knew that 2 years prior.
Honestly,
to going into
we
business.
can spend hours. And I this is the challenge I have with some of my clients is they will be like, I've done this amazing plan and I've done this and I'm going to follow this up and everything else. But actually, part of helping them to feel confident in their decision-making and their ability to run a business or their ability to do their job is to give them that a little bit of self-trust. And you do have to say, well, actually, as part of this, let's get some of this done now. When are you going to do this? If you're not going to do it now, let's get it on your actual calendar and I'm going to message you that day, or we can, and so there is actually some action, because it's great, but the needs to move with the need of direction, and some of those tasks need to get done.